to any episode of Essential Viewing.
What kind is it, Chris?
Well, it's not Essential Viewing live.
Yeah, you're
either.
right about that.
But it is Essential Viewing
in Technicolor.
Live in Technicolor. So, you guys can see us.
Yeah,
which is a whole new level of experience.
That's probably not a good thing.
Yeah, I don't really know if it enhances the value of this podcast at all.
It probably depreciates the value a little bit. But,
we should probably introduce ourselves.
Put names to faces.
Since you can see us now.
Yeah.
So. Who's this guy?
I'm Cole Beelan.
I'm Bryce Kramer.
No. I'm Bryce Kramer. I don't want anyone to think that I'm actually.
And I'm Christian Cuevas.
This is Chris Cuevas.
I'm Cole Beelan.
Fuck.
All right, now our listeners are just confused.
Wait.
Two of our listeners
let me check.
Follow this shit. Do you have your notes?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Chris Cuevas.
I'm Cole Beelan.
I'm Bryce Kramer.
Great.
And again, this is Essential Viewing, not live, but in Technicolor.
But in Technicolor.
So, Chris, what do we have on our plate today?
So, we watched...
We're back to, actually picking movies.
Yeah, we actually picked this movie.
Chris picked this
I picked this movie. This movie is called Partisan.
It was not Bronson.
No, not Bronson. However. Partisan. So, it's starring Vincent Cassel and Jeremy Chabriel, and it was written and directed by Ariel Kleiman. And it came out in 2014 at Sundance Film Festival. So, and it won awards.
I can't believe this won awards.
Well, it's a great film.
Sundance.
What can I say?
Yeah.
So we're just gonna dig right into this, and we're gonna get down and dirty. The film's available on Amazon Prime, by the way. If you want to stop and watch the movie first, you'll probably gain more if you actually watch the movie before listening to this podcast.
I think it's the first time we've ever given that preface. We just get right into the shit.
Yeah, so go on Amazon Prime and watch it if you haven't seen it yet. But we're gonna get right down and dirty into this film.
Go ahead.
And I'm not gonna talk first.
Okay.
Because I'm
Bryce,
gonna let these guys.
You want to start it out?
Talk first.
I don't really know where to start.
I don't either.
Just give
That's why you're going.
I guess I can go first. I didn't like it very much. It was. I don't know. I don't want to dive right into it right away, just because I know what I'm trying to say, but I want to hear what you guys say first.
All right. Well, I can go.
Go ahead, Cole.
I can. Broad view. I agree with Bryce. I did not like this film very much. What to say about it? It looked good. The soundtrack was pretty solid. It was aesthetically pleasing. However, just overall content-wise, I don't like.
Yeah, I didn't feel like there was a lot of content.
It was
like one thing happened the entire movie.
Yeah, it was very I had questions about what was going on, and I'll
say this.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, at the beginning, I thought it was really interesting, and there's a big mystery.
Yeah, what's going on?
What's going on here? Where are these people? What are they doing? Where are they living? And maybe about half an hour to 40 minutes in the movie, you kind of figured it out, and then you're like, all right, so now what's gonna happen? And then
boom, blue
not
balls.
Much really happens, and I was like, oh.
Blue balls.
I love this movie. I guess I'm the odd man out here. I love this movie.
Yes.
I think this is a great film. Visually, just striking. You know what I mean? Aesthetically, fantastic direction.
And really, we agree on that, Chris.
Yeah, we do. And really, a very novel sort of way to tell this story. Very, because there's so many ways to tell a story like this, and most of them are very on the nose. You know what I mean? And here you have this menacing character, and he's running this preschool cult almost, and they're able to sort of without going into horror movie tropes or going out of their way to dehumanize any of the characters. They're able to show us good and evil, without being ham-fisted in any way. You know what I mean? So I think this is a movie that it communicates so much emotionally, while not sort of, while still on the surface being kind of realistic and believable and not at all sort of melodramatic. So that's what I really love about this film. And I guess the obvious things of just the style and the aesthetics of it, those help. But I think that you have, on top of that, you have a fantastic story, that's told in a way that I admit it's not going to be super exciting. It's not an exciting movie. It's not a big action blockbuster. For a movie about hitmen, it's really pretty low key.
It's pretty dry.
But
for the hitting and the men.
But in the same way that and if you love the movie Drive, for example, I think you'll love this movie in the same way
I
that
like
you're
Drive
able to.
way more than this.
I see this movie going into the same class as being able to sort of like and Fury Road also, Mad Max Fury Road. I put this movie in with those as being able to communicate sort of a wealth of emotions and feelings and plot without giving us, pages of expository dialogue and melodramatic monologues and all the things that I sort of hate about movies that are like emotional these days.
Chris doesn't like talking. He likes to cut to the point. And I'm glad you brought up both Drive and Mad Max, because I was gonna bring up Mad Max, and I thought you guys would fucking jump on my shit for that. But I do like the comparison of this film to Mad Max Fury Road in a similar way. Drive, and not comparing them and saying that they're similar, but just kind of analyzing both films and kind of like comparing aspects that they have to each other that are similar, not necessarily they're entirely similar.
Yeah.
But so in this film, there are details of the world that are not told to you explicitly. You just kind of have to figure them out as the movie goes on, much like in Mad Max Fury Road. Like you like, okay, the war boys, like what's their background? Like they never don't tell you in Mad Max. You just kind of figure it out. They're crazy dudes that are painted in all white body paint and they have cancer. And like they're more like they're details and kind of rules about the world that you learn as you're going on. Like in this case, you see it looks like it's just kind of this compound or like community of people that live together, and then you realize that Gregory's the only man in the community, and that you never really find out if he's the father of all the children.
Yeah.
It's like that's the most likely situation.
I mean, that's what I liked about this.
I'm saying I did like that because it's
like you're trying
very
to
similar to Mad
uncover
Max.
like what's going on, and like it's like
and
cool world, and you get it.
They could just be like, a bad movie would be like, the year is 2025. Children are kept in a cult by the evil Gregory.
Yeah.
But like this movie just like...
Yeah.
I agree with that. I like that.
I'm just saying, like, once you figure that out, like, I don't think there was much to the plot or the characters once you got past that. Like, Gregory, like, you don't know any of his motives behind anything. Like, you don't know why he's having these children do these things. You don't know why he's bringing these women into this place. And, like...
Well, I mean, for money, right?
I mean, like, that can't be the whole reason he's doing this. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not like he's, like, living large or anything, you know?
Well,
like,
he is kind of living large. He's got this harem of women who worship him. You know what I mean? He's got children who look to him as a father figure.
He can eat.
I mean, it seems like the dream of any, like, cult leader to me. You know what I mean? Like, you look at, like, any kind of cult, it seems like the ideal sort of situation. You know what I mean? Maybe he's not, like, driving a Ferrari, but, it's like he's living all right.
Yeah.
All things considered.
The thing is, like, I agree, like, they convey information without being explicit about that, and I appreciate that for this film. But why I liked Mad Max was not only because you were able to kind of figure things out about the world as it went along, but there was also actual substance for you to, like, watch and consume as the movie was going on. Like, Mad Max has all of the action set pieces, and you find the story keeps advancing in some way that is satisfying. Where in this, you're curious of the rules, and then it kind of just dries up toward the end, like the substance is gone.
Like, I wasn't really invested, like, in the conflict at all.
Yeah.
Like, there were really only two characters in the movie, right?
Yeah, Alexander and Gregory.
The old dude and the kid. And like, that was about it. Like, it didn't go much beyond that. Like, it's really, like, cut and dry, just like, I'm, like, leading all these people, and the kid's like, oh, no, that's wrong. And, like,
and
the
thematic element kind of builds as the movie, like, as the rule, like, kind of discovering more about the world tapers down as you sort of figure more and more things out. Then the theme of, like, the main theme of the film is, like, not trusting, like, all of your authority figures. That starts to develop, but, like, for me, that was not as satisfying because that's a very, like, common theme and something, and I know that, like, how I've seen it should not like affect the quality of the movie, because, like, that's something that seems like it's a common thing you're supposed to, especially us as millennials, we've been taught by our peers and by other people to, like, just not blindly trust those that are older than you or have more power than you necessarily.
I just like the way that the film sort of kind of slowly kind of picked apart at the world that it set at the beginning, the same way, in the same, with the same kind of attitude.
I agree, but like you got to do something besides.
But it's like you start off but it's not like you create a world. You create a world, but then you just sort of break off all the little pieces, and it ends up at the end being something totally different than what we thought it was at the beginning. You know what I mean? It starts off as like it's some sort of weird preschool thing, and Gregory is like the nice like
old man that
yeah,
teaches all
he's
the
like
kids.
the nice preschooler. Then it turns out that they're actually assassins. But you know, it's okay because like there's still everything. It's still like inside. Like Gregory said, it's a safe place where we can relax and enjoy each other's company. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then you realize that, well, you know, he's cutting. He's not only is he teaching the kids to be assassins, but he's also sort of cutting them off from the real world.
Yeah.
And bringing them up in like. He says that he's preparing them, but he's actually not preparing them for the real world.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting them in a situation where they're going to end up being messed up mentally.
Oh yeah.
Where they've just been living in this kind of compound all their lives. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize that it's not like, you know, you show like the whole the party, the karaoke thing with the pop star and the singing, but then you realize that it's not all just the kids aren't even all like on board with it. There are some rebellious elements among them, and then you realize that Gregory. Is he actually not like a carefully thought out like guardian? He'll just kill a kid if they misbehave. You know what I mean? And then once you've learned all this, which is what you learn, then you learn all this as Alexander learns it. And once Alexander's learned all these things, he makes his decision, which is that he needs to get out of there.
But like,
and then that boils up into the final
other
combat.
Characters besides
conflict.
like all the other characters besides Alexander and Gregory were just like blank faces.
Yeah, I mean,
like, I mean, like there's like the one kid that like was like protecting the chickens. He got killed off.
I like him.
And like he was kind of a character, but like all of like his wives, all the other children, like you have no idea how any of these other people are like responding to this situation. The whole story is through like this one character. So like, it's kind of hard to judge an entire like it's basically a society in there, right? Based on one person.
I think that it was actually. I think that that's one of the things I really liked about this movie is that. You might say, well, it wasn't clear how, like what you're saying, it wasn't clear how the community was responding, and especially how the mothers were responding. And this is something that I read. Like, they never explain what the mothers thought about it. But when you really watch the movie, they did explain what the parents thought about it.
From Alexander's mom at one point, because he's talking about Gregory, like, do you think that Gregory ever lies? And her response is just like, no, you need to stop talking like she's full blown.
I mean, I think that they actually
in every way.
They made it very clear that the parents were all on board with this. You know what I mean? But again, they didn't have a scene where where they have one of the women saying, "All hail the great Gregory. We love you because you take care of us." They said all that. The film made it clear, at least to me, that that's what they thought. You know, they worshiped this guy, but they didn't ever just come out and just say it. You know what I mean?
The mothers and like the women's and the other children's complacence was the way that they like felt with deciding. They were just sitting there and they accepted everything.
Exactly.
That kind of shows that they.
I mean, like
they're
I feel like
it.
a situation like this would be more complex than just like, oh, they were accepting it. Or they weren't accepting it. Like, there's like multiple like reasons. Like,
it's a cult, right?
maybe we want to be here because like it's a good place, but at the same time,
well, compared to the fucking Georgian city,
we don't have like freedom. You don't have freedom, or whatever. And like, just looking at that like basic like picture that they've painted, like it doesn't add a lot of depth.
When you think about it, how could a cult like this couldn't exist for very long if the people weren't complacent. You know what I mean? If the people were constantly having fevers of rebellion, like this would have collapsed. You know what I mean? So I think that it makes sense for the people to be sort of kind of zombie-like in their sort of complacency and being in the situation, because they're part of this cult. You know, I mean, they're brainwashed, right? This is where they want to be. You know what I mean?
I don't think they were brainwashed.
Well, they're not What I'm saying when I mean brainwashed, I mean they're fully on board with Gregory's ethics and with his ideals of how the world should be. They're fully invested in that. You know what I mean? And when you're in a situation,
the thing is, I'm saying you can't know that from what the movie showed us.
But the movie it showed us that, but it didn't do it on the nose. I think it was something. It was along with the many other things that were communicated in the subtext of the movie, as opposed to explicitly through expository dialogue and scenes that are just there was.
You can still create like a layered, like detailed, like setting without doing like the expository.
And I think that's what
dialogue.
I think that's really what they did.
But I didn't think they had like a detailed, layered setting. It was just like place where people live. These kids go kill people.
I strongly disagree with you on that.
I don't
point.
think there was like a very.
And I think that they gave us. I think that they gave us so much detail about this compound, this cult, without, and I think that they did such a great job of giving us all that without just spilling their guts through dialogue. I think that they gave us the exact vibe of how these people felt about being there. You know what I mean? I think that you might see. I think the problem that, and I read people had this complaint online because I read a lot about people were saying online about this movie. They were saying like it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Why would the people be so complacent? And it's like an uncomfortable thing to believe. You know what I mean? This movie is laying something in front of you, right? Which is that all these mothers are okay with their children being assassins. It's laying this in front of you, and you're uncomfortable with it. So you don't want to believe it, so it ends up being like, well, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You think they'd be more
I mean,
uncomfortable.
I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm just saying it's not very like detailed or...
Yeah. Okay. Criticism of the world that a creator has made is kind of like whether it doesn't make sense. Like a world in like aspects that are governed by social rules. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like criticism of that. Saying like, okay,
I'm not criticizing that this doesn't make sense. I'm saying it's not very.
I'm not like
fleshed
trying
out.
to like attack you. I'm saying that what you said because people attacking it online and saying like, oh well, it doesn't make sense that these people would act in this way. I'm like, well, maybe this is the world that the creator wanted to show, and maybe this isn't exactly a direct replica of the current like social environment that we live in as people inhabit like reality, as opposed to like a creative piece like this.
Yeah.
But like criticizing plot holes, that's fine. Like actual like logical or like physical things about the world that don't make sense.
I mean, were there like plot holes?
No. I'm just saying to juxtapose like criticism of like social constraints in the world versus physical like plot based things. That has merit. Like criticizing social stuff doesn't. So like I think in this case, like the complacency is just representative of like they're okay with this. And that, like, the other people that inhabit this compound.
I think that one of the major sort of, it's not really a theme, but one of the major sort of, like, kind of recurring things in this movie is giving us just enough, no more than we need. And you even see that in the ending, which you guys were clearly disappointed with the ending.
Yeah.
I thought that the ending was beautiful. I thought the ending was absolutely beautiful because it showed us exactly the precise amount of information that we needed to figure out the rest by ourselves, and then end of the movie and roll the credits.
They don't hold your hand. They don't say like, hey, this is exactly what happens.
They say, here's the gun, here's the baby with the earplugs in, there's Alexander, there's Gregory.
Yeah.
End the movie.
Yeah.
We don't need to see him shoot Gregory. We don't need to see that.
Whoa. You don't know that he's shot him.
No, but he's going to.
But like, okay, so he's there, he's like ready to shoot him, right?
Yeah.
But then like Gregory gives his whole speech, like, you don't want to do this, blah, blah, blah. We don't know how he's reacted to this speech.
But the thing is,
maybe that sways him not to.
But the thing is,
that's the
the main
interpret
we don't know enough about these.
That is not the thing. That's not the main conflict of the movie. The main conflict of the movie is: can a child raised up in an oppressive system where they've been spoon-fed a system of beliefs, can they break out of that without any sort of external influence? And the answer is clearly yes.
We didn't get an answer.
The answer is clearly yes, because he's got a gun and he's busting out of there. Clearly, regardless of what
he didn't bust out.
Well,
he
took the baby
tunnels and didn't leave.
But look,
if he would have busted out, he would have been gone.
Regardless of what happens in that conflict, regardless of what happens in that moment, the main conflict of the movie has been resolved, and that is that Alexander, who was raised under Gregory's teachings, who's been raised under Gregory's teachings, has shunned Gregory's teachings. He's shunned them, and he will not accept Gregory's teachings. That is the main conflict of the film, and that conflict was resolved by the ending of the movie. It was resolved completely. It was resolved, regardless of whether he shoots Gregory or whether Gregory shoots him. That doesn't really matter. That's just popcorn. That's just popcorn. I wonder who died at the end. The real conflict of the film was if someone is it possible for someone who's been taught one thing all their lives to believe another thing without having an adult figure to tell them that? That was the main conflict of the film, and that conflict was solved by the ending. So regardless of who shoots who or who gets away, that's for a Jason Bourne movie or something. For this movie,
I disagree, but
for this movie, the main conflict was solved.
So you're saying your kind of the way you think and the way you process information be changed regardless of how you're brought up? Is that kind of what you're doing?
Can someone break out? Can a person who's raised with only being fed one set of beliefs break out of their upbringing.
Based on their own independence, because
Yeah.
that's not what Alexander did. He didn't break out from his own merit or from his own thought process. It was Leo's thought process that influenced him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think in that case you can say like you can go against the grain of what you're taught, but can see, and it would have been, I think it would have been different if Leo just wasn't a character at all, and maybe at some point Alexander started to question Gregory just on his own accord.
But that would be like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can't show that, right? You need, this is the event with Leo that sort of triggers Alexander, because Alexander was already questioning the world, right? That's what the scene where he brought the toys in was, right? And Gregory said, "I love how curious you're becoming." You know what I mean? And he told him that even though you're curious, you have to remember that the world is a dangerous place. He told them a story about the perfume, how it was burning, and how the sirens weren't coming for him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So Alexander was already starting to explore. He was starting to question, well, you know, this world of me and Gregory and the other kids, maybe that's not all there is to the world, right? Mm-hmm. And then the incident with Leo, that sort of really opened things up, and he realized the nature of who Gregory was, right? He realized that this place that he thought was safe really isn't safe, mm-hmm. right? And then in this final conflict where he takes Tobias and goes into the tunnel, right? That's the moment where that bond between Alexander and Gregory is broken forever, you know? That bond is broken. And the father and son bond, even though Gregory wasn't actually Alexander's father, that bond is broken, right? That bond being broken, that resolves the main conflict of the movie. That's why I love that they didn't actually show the aftermath of that.
That's one way to interpret it. Another would be he puts the gun down and then goes back into living there. There's no way to say that he didn't do that.
No, I know you can't say it definitively. It's just okay.
Gregory just gave his whole speech.
Your guess of what the ending was, given the film,
is as good as Chris's.
I don't think it would make sense given the rest of the film.
Okay,
I think it was clear.
It's open to interpretation. That's how it is. There's no definitive way. If they wanted
to have your ending, they would have shown.
And if they wanted to have your ending, Bryce, they would have shown it as well.
But the thing is, it's not necessary.
It isn't.
It's not necessary.
Think the ending to Inception. The spinning top, and it starts to wobble, and the scene cuts to black before you see the top. You guys have both seen Inception, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm referencing?
It's also
you can interpret however you want. And if they wanted to show it one way or wanted to show it,
this movie isn't like that at all.
How is it different?
How is this different?
That's
the most bullshit I've ever heard.
No. Everything that happened in the movie, everything that happened, it clearly was the separation of Alexander and Gregory, the destruction of their relationship. All that happened during the movie.
So why would they give you a satisfying conclusion?
Because it's not necessary. That's for the popcorn. Okay, we don't. That's just to eat. That's just entertainment. All right. It's not necessary. The story has been told. To show Alexander shooting Gregory is just pulp. It's just action. Here's satisfying conclusion. It's not necessary though. The story has been told. Once the story has been told, you cut the credits and you show the director's name and you play the music. Once the story has been told. All right. That's what I believe. All right. That's how I believe a movie should be done. Once you've told the story, you end the movie. You don't continue to give people satisfying conclusions and I want to see the action. I want to see them actually pull the trigger.
I want to see the after credit sequence.
Yeah, that's exactly the
after
credit sequence.
The fundamental difference between Chris's taste in film and mine.
The story has been told, so end the movie. All right? To show this movie would be a worse movie if they'd shown Alexander shooting Gregory. All right? Or if they'd shown Alexander walking off into the sunset with Tobias. That would have harmed the quality of this movie significantly. The fact that they ended the movie shows that they know when they've told the story, and they know that when you tell a story, when you get to the ending, you stop. You don't give more to satisfy the audience. Once you've told the story, you stop. Because you're just wasting time and you're just making up stuff to give to
5 seconds.
It's not necessary.
Okay.
A movie.
Alright, so if you're saying necessary stuff to show in the movie, you could have cut out a lot more of this movie also then.
No.
You don't if you can't add an extra 5 seconds of a gun being fired, you could have cut out like a good 40 minutes from this movie then.
I still don't understand how this is different from the ending to Inception. You didn't answer that.
Because the ending to Inception is is he in limbo or is he actually in the real world?
But they told the story. They were finished with the story.
But I didn't even like the ending to Inception. The ending to Inception is an artificial thing for people to talk about at the water cooler. Okay, in Inception, it doesn't matter whether he's in the real world or in limbo or not. All right, the conflict has been solved, and he's there with his children. All right, so they honestly, they did not need that. That was just something so the people went, ooh, I wonder if he's in the real world or not. And you talk about it at the water cooler the next day, and then you say, oh my God, Inception, it's such a mysterious movie.
I feel like if this movie would have been better, this could also be up for water cooler debate, Chris. Call me Randy Savage.
No, I'm just saying, like, the ending of Inception is another example of, I think, something that's not necessary. It just gets people's juices flowing, gets the little goosebumps on the back of your neck, but it's not necessary. And there's too much unnecessary stuff in movies. And this movie is just lean story.
It's
and
shredded.
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to, like, Friday night, movie night, let's all go get some popcorn and watch Partisan. No, that's not the case. But in terms of telling a story, telling it concisely, telling it using subtext, and ending the movie as soon as the story has been told, beautiful. I mean, this is a 94-minute movie. 97-minute movie. I mean, you barely even qualify for a feature film under 90 minutes. And this movie has told so much story in the same time that many movies use to do nothing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
This film felt a lot longer than 97 minutes.
This movie did not tell a lot of story.
I think it told a huge story.
You had people in compound, kid assassinates person, kid gets killed, kid
a relationship
runs away.
Between a boy and his father figure destroyed. That's huge. That's huge. And it's a huge story. To communicate all that and to communicate all the emotions that go with that in the course of 90 minutes is huge.
There's not a lot of
they tell the same story in There Will Be Blood, and that movie's like 6 hours long. Like, then why is this not better than There Will Be Blood?
I mean, you have a lot more going on in There Will Be Blood.
Yeah?
You do. You do have a lot more going on in There Will Be Blood.
I like a movie where there's a bit more going on.
Okay, here's the thing. If there had just been more assassinations, I feel like if there had just been like a couple chase scenes and a couple out the window shootings, I feel like you guys would have been all over this movie.
You're saying this movie didn't need the last ending, right? So why did they have to show him assassinating 2 people? Why did they not only show him assassinating 1 person? Why did they cut out of that of the movie?
The second assassination was important.
Why did they have the original
scene?
scene?
You see him observing the blood and seeing what his actions are actually doing.
Why did they have the original scene? The scene at the beginning where he's telling.
Why
did they have the scene at the beginning when he's asking the girl to come live with him? Why did they have to have? Why can't we just assume that the girl's coming?
When you want to establish who the characters are. You want to establish, because that establishes how all those people got to be there. That establishes how the compound
they could have just established that with him walking through the door with a new girl, which he did later in the movie.
Now you're just confused, right? I mean, you do need to. I mean, okay, so you do have to have something in a movie to explain what the plot is. What I'm saying is that you don't have to show us everything explicitly, every explicit detail of everything that happens. You do need to establish the movie. And the things they did at the beginning in the hospital, that establishes the movie very clearly, right? And notice that it does it without even any dialogue, right? They were able to establish exactly what the situation was.
I mean, there was dialogue.
I know, but the dialogue was not like, hello, my name is Gregory. I am the leader of a cult with children who I train to be hitmen. The plot, the dialogue was all very natural. And really through the visuals were you able to understand that the baby that you saw in the first scene was Alexander, that this is a cult where he's training people to be hitmen. Was that ever said? Was that ever mentioned in the movie?
No.
Did he ever say, I'm training these kids to be hitmen? No. All the important aspects of the plot were established visually.
Yeah, and from a technical point of view,
I'm
that's
not
very
saying
impressive.
that's bad. I'm saying that's good. I'm just saying there's not a lot of substance to this film.
Yeah,
there's a ton of substance to this film.
Could have.
I think what you're saying is there's not a lot of like excitement. I mean, if the film was exciting,
I thought the ending was very exciting. I thought the last scene was really good. I was like, wow, this just got my attention a lot at the ending. And then
you were disappointed when they didn't give us a shooting, but they didn't cut it off. They ended it right at the moment where the story was over. Anything afterwards would have been gratuitous.
All right, I 100% disagree with you.
That's okay.
All right.
You have that right.
All right. Well, I think we're running on a little long. Chris, do you want to set up the 5-point scale for our viewers?
The 5-point scale. So we're moving from a 10-point scale to a 5-point scale because a 10-point scale is kind of prone to a bit
skewed.
of like, yeah, and it's like it gives a lot of room for people to do a lot of sort of scheming. You know what I mean?
If you reduce it down to a 5-point scale, it's more.
You're boiling it down to the purest elements of what a
Yeah.
scale is.
'Cause-
Just like this film's kind of boiled the drama down to the purest elements of what it was.
Because
You know
like
what I mean?
when we use a 10-point scale,
I mean,
we
I like a
usually
little complexity in my movies.
all of our ratings are
complexity-
heavily weighted.
Complexity is only
All
good when
right.
it's necessary. You know, simplicity is beautiful.
Simplicity, simplicity.
So the
Say
5-point scale, 1 out of 5
Is-
indicates a film which is not good, a bad film.
Incompetent.
Incompetent. Well, no, that's 0 out of 5.
Okay,
0
0
out
is
of 5 is
incompetent.
incompetent. 1 out of 5 indicates a film which is not good, right?
Okay.
2 out of 5 indicates a film that had, you could see maybe flashes of something worthwhile in the film, but overall, the overall package was not good. 3 out of 5 is an average film, all right? This is just like your bread and butter, all right?
Yeah.
It didn't do anything very, very particularly well. It didn't do anything particularly bad, just average.
Okay.
4 out of 5 is a good film, which maybe has flashes of greatness, but the overall package is not great.
It's not polished perfection.
Yeah, it's not like perfection,
much
right?
like
Yeah.
a
5 out of 5, which is
near perfection
or near
perfection.
perfection. You know what I mean? You have an overall as a film, it delivers a perfectly realized vision of a story in cinematic form. And these are the great films. You know what I mean? These are the Drives and the There Will Be Bloods of the world.
And the Bronson.
I won't say.
Bronson.
So yeah, that's the new scale, guys, and we're gonna put that scale to the test
today,
right here on Essential Viewing.
And again, a 0 out of 5 indicates complete incompetence.
Complete incompetence.
Most likely reserve
the director was standing in front of the camera. He said action and then ran away, but he tripped over the microphone cord, and it was just a mess.
And then 0 out of 5 is most likely reserved only for any Andy Sidaris film or like some other really obscure shit that Chris
I don't
likes.
think we'll ever be giving a movie.
I don't think we'll give a 0
0
out of 5 unless we do an essential viewing for Savage Beach or Picasso Trigger. But anyway, we can get this stuff ready. It's ripe. I'm ripe to give some reviews.
So if you're ripe, how about we
start off.
crack you open and
All right.
drink the juice, if you know what I mean.
So as this has happened before on the podcast, I have come in with kind of a rating that I feel like I'm going to give the movie, but after much discussion and much listening in this case, I have decided to change my score. I was initially going to come in to this film giving it a 2 out of 5. However, after our discussion and analysis of themes and discussion of the technical prowess and like some of the really, well, you said the way that they convey information without dialogue, and they convey it visually, and I really enjoy that. I can respect that from the film. I'm going to bump that up to a 3 out of 5. Like you said,
average.
Bread and butter, average. I mean, the film, I've said this before, it was technically impressive. It looked good. It sounded great. I really liked the soundtrack in the beginning. One thing I wanted to talk about is the first scene where you see Gregory with like the big pile of like bundled up shit, and then he goes into like wherever and builds a table. Like, what was that? Was that him establishing the compound, or like I did not understand that at all? That had no relevance whatsoever. And I don't even think it was Gregory, because the guy he had short black hair,
dude, collecting
weird. He built like that
shit.
Franken table.
I don't know.
It
might have been just showing us. It might have been just some guy in the city just showing us
Or
that did not contribute at all to the film.
Now that I think of the mattresses, it would make sense if it was Gregory building the compound, but that could have been cut. I think.
There's no reason.
By the way,
to see
if we're gonna start going shot by shot and saying which shot should have been taken out of films,
I mean,
I'll be back.
Okay,
I will be back.
I wouldn't be going at that.
If we're gonna,
except for you're saying there's 5 seconds at the end.
If we're gonna go shot
let's
by
get back
shot
to our scores.
and say that shot wasn't necessary, those 2 frames could have been removed.
Okay.
Well,
So
we're just saying this because your whole argument for the ending is that it was unnecessary. So that's the only reason we're bringing that up.
I gave it a 3 out of 5. What did you think, Chris?
let's go to Bryce.
Okay, Bryce.
All right, so
I already picked my rating.
we've
I
got a movie that's got a pretty intriguing beginning here, a really interesting world, and you gradually become understanding what's going on. I thought that was really cool. But besides that, I didn't think you had a very compelling theme or compelling plot. I think the two main characters, I wasn't really invested in their fighting or their disagreements. I didn't think that was very complex or very well developed. And then the ending is just just horrible. The ending of this film was horrible.
No punches are pulled.
Okay.
I got invested in again in the ending. I'm like, all right, this is pretty exciting. And then like
His investments didn't pay out.
and then I just like, all right, fuck that. So with an ending, if this movie would have had an ending, I probably would have given it a 3 out of 5 like Cole. But there was no ending, so I'm keeping my score of a 2 out of 5.
Oh.
All right. Well, this film is what I would call an essential cinematic masterpiece. This film gets the essential viewing seal of approval.
No, the Christian Cuevas.
Christian
seal of approval.
Cuevas.
I have the authority to give the essential
No.
viewing.
That is a trifecta. That is a 5 out of 5 across the board.
Is that what it has
That's
to
what
get?
it is. You give the Christian Cuevas seal
Okay,
of
this is
approval.
the essential viewing seal of approval Chris Cuevas edition.
Okay,
which is like the
that's
premium
whatever.
edition of the essential viewing. This is like the season pass
The season
of the
pass.
essential viewing seal of
Oh,
approval. All right,
Don't buy
this,
Chris's season pass.
This is an absolutely beautiful film. Beautiful. And the way that it lays out and tells its story, and the way that it just conveys just raw emotion through the visuals, really visual storytelling, which is what film is all about.
Oh, I just want to throw in real quick, like the main like child actor, like his performance was like
Fantastic.
not very good.
Fantastic.
Like his face
And-
was just like bland the
Mostly,
entire film.
yeah.
Well, anyways.
You didn't see him like
Anyways.
reacting. to
Okay, so is
anything.
Ryan Gosling's in Drive, but
Anyways, to give us such raw emotion without overacting and without expository dialogue, characters on the nose telling us what they're feeling, and to give us a thrilling plot, a thrilling sort of adventure without hitting us with big expensive action scenes and explosions and all the things that people who go to the movie theaters like, and to
Hey, I like those.
and to give us to just strip down this story to exactly what it needed and to just leave out any unnecessary elements and just to tell such a bold and just exciting story in such a concise and efficient way is really just, for me, absolutely amazing. And I think that the writing of this film is fantastic. The direction, fantastic. The acting, really fantastic. I loved Vincent Cassel's performance. I loved Jeremy Chabriel's performance. I thought that he did a fantastic job. And I thought that, the way he was able to just use his, what Bryce calls a blank stare, I felt was like the way that he was able to use his eyes, just his eyes, to sort of say what he was feeling in every scene. You know what I mean? Because, okay, sure, he could go and but instead you see all those emotions just in his eyes the entire movie. So yeah, maybe his mouth wasn't moving, but I think you were able to see so many different emotions from him.
There's one thing, but he had the same emotion the entire
No,
movie.
I think that he went through a whole host of emotions, and I think that I saw him act out a whole host of emotions on screen very convincingly. So overall, I would give this film a 5 out of 5. On our old scale, it would have been a 10 out of 10, but now it's a 5 out of 5.
The right 5 out of 5.
The 5 out of 5. This
New
film
scale.
is beautiful, and if you're a fan of films that are efficient, you know what I mean? Films like Drive,
That
films
don't
like Fury
waste your
Road,
time.
then please go watch this movie. Go on Amazon Prime, watch this movie. You'll love it. You know what I mean? You'll love it. If you're anything like me, you'll love this film. If you like films that just get straight to the point and just deliver just a hard-hitting story without going all into melodrama and overacting, you'll love this film. 5 out of 5. Masterpiece. Right. Beautiful film.
Well put, Chris. Time to get straight to the point now.
Straight to the point.
So for the legendary Cole Beelan double scale,
the Cole Beelan
I'm
double
going
scale.
to give this 5 out of 5 chickens for the masterful, subtle PETA propaganda that was hidden within the film. Halfway through, Alexander decides to stop eating chickens, according to...
Eats the damn chicken.
And he refuses to eat the chicken. And I really appreciated Alexander's his ironclad willpower in refusing to eat the chicken.
Eat the damn chicken.
And Leo taking a stand and defending the chicken with a fucking bent ass piece of rebar. So that's that quality. I wonder how much of the budget was contributed to by PETA for this film. So yeah. So I think that kind of wraps up this extra special edition of Essential Viewing in Technicolor.
And what a great film for our first video episode.
Absolutely.
What a great film.
So we're skipping Bronson, right? This was your pick?
This is Chris's pick.
Sorry, we gave them cinematic blue balls.
Yeah. Go watch Bronson. Another great film.
Okay, so we're not going to do that one. Thank God.
Maybe down the road.
Okay, so
Wait,
Bryce?
I have to pick a movie, don't I?
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
you can announce it next time, or if you have one in mind?
I have a few ideas, but I was gonna kind of pick I thought Chris was gonna pick Bronson, right? So I had like Retaliation planned.
Oh God, was it a Wes Anderson film?
No, that would have been like, I think we all
Is
would
it
have
the
liked that.
Avengers?
But I was gonna like allow Chris to.
There's a
pick,
movie with a real ending.
I was gonna allow Chris to pick between like a Marvel film or like a romantic film, but
Punch Drunk Love?
he didn't give us Bronson, so I think after our discussion I picked what I want to pick. We were talking about like a really short to the point movie, right?
All right.
So I'm kind of gonna go the other way
Oh,
and
fuck.
pick like a longer film
God.
Gettysburg?
that I'm like a really big fan of. This is another one
Braveheart.
I've read the book based on this movie after I've seen it multiple times.
The Hunger Games.
The Martian.
Mockingjay
The
Part
Martian.
Or we're watching Cloud Atlas.
Oh.
You can see. I
Oh.
don't want to.
God.
I think
Alan,
this-
Alan will watch it
I
with
think
us.
this is a really good movie.
Oh.
It's a bit longer. I think it was around like
It's like
3 hours ish.
Oh.
There's like a. I think there's like a longer cut that's like 4 hours. Like
No!
it's not been
No,
released.
no,
I wish I
no.
could see that, but
Damn.
Okay, do realize that picking a long movie as a way to retaliate against me is a very, very bad idea. Very bad
Chris,
idea.
No, I
Chris
didn't
can
say-
sit among the best.
One that you will pay for down the road.
this is the movie that I was gonna retaliate with. This is a movie that I wanted to pick, but I was gonna pick a different movie. to
What are you gonna retaliate with? Are you gonna save that? Is that in your essential
I'm gonna
arsenal?
save it for later, but Cloud Atlas is gonna be fun.
All right. So
Well,
that wraps this up. Look forward to that video in like 6 months from now. But thanks for sticking with us, guys. We really appreciate the viewership.
oh yeah, it's actually viewership now instead of like hearership,
Listenership. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, get ready for more quality content from the Essential Viewing gang coming your way via your eyes and ears.
It's the hardest thing to do.